found most of the study aids I found online for this book were from high school kids helping one another.
Honestly, that just goes to show you, gentlemen right there, you guys can do amazing things. High schoolers are completely capable of doing incredible things. So don't let your youth make you think, I can't do anything. You absolutely can. You can change and shape the world around you, and you have a powerful influence. Be that influence. You have, and I'm speaking directly to you because you're the only high schoolers in the room. But you guys have immense. You're not in high school. Well, you're close enough.
Well, you're ahead of the game then.
You're ahead of the game. Well, so what grade are you in? Sixth? Wow. Okay. I would not have guessed that. Okay. 6th grade. You too can do amazing and wonderful things. Do not let your youth, being younger than you, shape anything about your thinking about what you're capable of. You can do amazing and powerful things.
Use your power for good.
Yes, use it for good. Use it for God. Use your power and goodness for God. You know, it's just be that light to your peers, but you have such immense potential. And you can utilize it today. You don't have to wait till you get a degree or anything like that. Today, you can do it. Anyway, that's my little encouragement for you. So today, let's learn a couple new vowel pointings. We're actually going to learn 3. We're going to learn about the holim. We've already kind of introduced this one a little bit. And then the shuruk. Now, it's not off to the side like that. That's one thing I'm going to fix for the slides, is I'm going to shrink this down for you. But I want you to see that this is going to go beneath here. So, this is actually the simplest thing to draw. It's just something that goes right over over the letter. We've seen this over the holim. We know how this, or the holim over the vav. We know how this works, and it makes an O sound. Right? Pretty straightforward. The next one barely needs an introduction, but we're going to do it. 1, 2, and 3.
But you're doing them all at the same time?
Yeah, if you're very lucky, if you're very smart, you'll have 3 pens and you just go like, no. This is a shuruk.
With the 3?
3 dots.
How do you spell it?
Wait, this one called it kibbutz?
It calls it kibbutz.
Oh my goodness. No, the shuruk. Oh, the shuruk is with the vav. This is kibbutz. Listen to that better.
Listen to that better.
Listen to that one. That one's better. Kibbutz. So let me write that. I'm going to make that. Wow, that's annoying. Kibbutz. Yeah, kibbutz. So I'll make that an emendation to the slides as well. But this is the last one for this lesson. This one makes an oo sound, very similar to the shuruk, which is that oo, the holim in the middle of the vav. So shuruk, and then this is the kibbutz. Okay, so it makes an oo sound. You'll see this one quite a bit in the homework for this one. All right. Reish. This is the 20th letter of the alphabet, and oh, you know what? Wow, I didn't even correct this. Just ignore what it's written there. The resh is going to make an R sound. It's going to make a r, kind of like a ra. So, how is it written? It's written like this.
So this one's really close to the
Yeah.
sound.
To the what sound?
The D sound.
The dalit. Yeah. So reish is like this. It's actually more often than not mistaken for a vav.
Yeah.
But yes, a dalit as well.
Dalit is hard in the corner. There was a resh in the homework, and I was like, that's a D.
Reish. Yes, reish.
Paul, can you explain why it's a half guttural instead of a full guttural?
Well, okay, so I think we think of gutturals as more like chet, right? So the whole thing with gutturals is they happen in the back of the throat. So the reish goes reish, ra, ra. It's from back here, reish. So It's like davar, for example. Davar, the word. Hadavar, the word. Ra. It's in the back. It almost sounds like a lamed
Yeah,
when they speak fast.
yeah.
You will actually think it's a lamed until you start realizing they're saying resh. Yep. Yes, resh.
Okay.
So it looks like that when it's finished. So then there's like, I think, very few words for this one. I think there's only one that we're going to learn. So this is rachamim. Rachamim. This is tender compassion and affection. Tender compassion and affection. This is the plural of the word for womb. Womb. Yeah, meaning this is the kind of love a mother shows to her infant. This is the kind of love that comes from God, which He says which says the scriptures tell us He has this kind of love for His children. So He has rachamim on His children. So it's actually, you could say that this is actually the third word for love in Hebrew. Ahava and chesed being the other two. Rachamim is actually a sort of affection. It's a type of love from mother to infant. Now, so actually I should probably throw on some of these other letters as well. The resh does get confused for the vav very frequently, for the dalet, and also the kaf sofit. So I'll add those onto the slides later. But yeah, this letter gets confused an awful lot. This is actually, we're almost done with this. Can you believe it? We're almost done already. The shin and sin. Now this is an important. These both are supposedly the pictures of teeth. In fact, the word for teeth is shinaim. Shinaim.
Interesting.
Yeah. So this letter has two forms, and the only way to tell them apart is where that dot shows up. If it's on the right, it's shin. If it's on the left, it's sin. Not to be confused with confused with sin. It would be a sin to mispronounce this. It'd be a sin to mispronounce this word. So it's sheen, like Charlie. It's like sheen, like it's got a sheen to it, or seen, like I seen it, which is really good grammar. All right. That was a dumb joke, but there it was. All right. So the first move you make is down this side here. Now you can do this any way you like, but I'm giving you suggestions. The second is off to the other side. The third, which conveniently these arrows followed the path. It was wonderful. And then fourth, bing, right there. It's so beautiful. And it looks like this when it's all done. Now, just to save time, everything else about the scene is the same, except this. Literally the only difference. And so it looks like that. So that's the scene. Now, we're going to learn actually a couple of things. You probably know this word already. Shalom. That's right. It's the customary greeting. It's also, but there's a richness in this word that goes way beyond saying hello. What does this word mean also? Peace. It means so much more than that. It's a deep-seated wish for the well-being of another person and all that belongs to them.
Yep.
It's a deep-seated wish for those things. Shalom. Good. Now, this is, any idea what this says? Shalom uvracha. Yeah, shalom uvracha. Yeah, so there's the resh in action. Uvracha. You hear it? You hear how it's like a half guttural? Yeah, shalom uvracha. It's interesting too, because when you, like in the word Yerushalayim, it almost sounds like you have a W going on there. Like, you know how little kids, when they can't say, they say W's? Yeah, the W's. Someone's got a case of the W's. Hey, we have a rim shot tonight. Ha. Okay. This means peace and blessing. Peace and blessing. And now, here's one of these deeper meanings I was telling you about that bears itself out. There's peace, of course, a call for peace for the person, and a blessing from the Almighty being called for by the one person to another. These are very kind words, if you ask me. Very kind words. Shalom uvracha. You could actually say that to somebody and they'd be like, Toda rabba. Yeah, so shalom uvracha. Very good. Oh, sorry, did you need it? Sorry. Shalom uvracha. It's very...
It's in the book. Oh, in the
107.
Yeah, it's on, page 107.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not pulling these from anywhere else unless I feel it's helpful. The book is actually trying to introduce you guys to vocabulary in a very paced manner. I don't want to give you too much extra. Like all the vocabulary that we've learned, even the really long ones, the long lessons with lots of vocab, come from the book. And I only make additions where I feel like they'll be helpful. So I don't want to get ahead of the curriculum too much because I think it's paced appropriately. All right. Now, this one I'm pretty sure most of you have heard before. You may have heard this spoken somewhere. So, what is this one?
Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem. Yeah. So, this is a very common and yet powerful way to greet somebody. It's packed with meaning. In fact, it's what Yeshua said when he showed up suddenly in the midst of the Talmidim, the disciples, while they were behind a locked door. He just shows up there and he's like, Shalom Aleichem, which I have no doubt freaked all of them out.
Oh, yeah.
Like, how would you be? We're all in here and he shows up, Shalom Aleichem. You're like, ah! Yeah. Exactly. They thought it was a ghost. Exactly. So this is a very common blessing, and it's also a really good song. Shalom Aleichem. It's a good song.
Nice dance too.
It means peace be unto you. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. So the hem ending is to you. Unto you. Aleichem. Yes. So it's, may God's peace be upon you. In fact, actually, you probably have heard a similar thing in Arabic.
Yeah.
As-salam alaikum.
Yeah.
It's actually very much the same thing. As-salam alaikum. And then they would say, wa alaikum salam, to you. So it actually is literally the exact same thing. Just slightly different sound. It's kind of cool. And it's a very nice confirmation that these two languages do in fact come from the same family.
I actually one time I was with some Jewish people, and one person said to another, said, "You pronounce it way too Arabic." and the other person said, "Do not." I said, "Yes, you do." He says, "Knock it off." And it was just back and forth, and I had heard it before from Arabic speakers, so like, I can see where that, the pronunciation,
Yeah.
and it's very important to them that it was right.
Yeah, was this was somebody here in the States?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it was two Jewish people I work with, and it was one of the holidays,
Mm.
and so the one said to the other, and that started off a whole argument about who was right about the pronunciation.
He's more Jewish.
Yeah, that was essentially was the argument, yes.
Who's more Jewish? Yeah, it did. It had the exact opposite.
Well, I just sat there and listened, to it, and I noticed that same thing. I thought, this is quite ironic, but it was a good education.
Mm. Nice. So, let's see. So, this is, now we say shalom to somebody, then you can say, there's actually two phrases that mean exactly the same thing, but one's masculine and one's feminine. The one on the left says mashlomcha. That's what you would say to a boy or a man. Mashlomech is what you say to a girl or a woman. Yeah. Mashlomcha. So let's try that. Mashlomcha. Mashlomcha and mashlomech. Mashlomech. Yeah. Good. So this is, yeah, it takes some time. When you learn, again, this is when the kaf sofit comes into play very heavily. You can see here the kamatz versus the shava.
That's why you learn manishma.
What's that?
That's why we learn manishma.
Manishma? Oh, yeah.
It's neutral. You don't have to remember.
Manishma. Yeah. Yeah. Well, of course, nowadays, and let's say that in Portland everybody spoke Hebrew, we'd be like, Manishma. Don't want to offend you. Shalom Aleichem. Let's just avoid the issue. Here, again, the beware of lookalikes is really just a mirror. Just be careful. It's literally like, it's exactly that. It's a mirror. You cannot, I mean, come on. It's literally the same letter, just the difference of where you place the dot. That's it.
Oh, that's the same for the letter.
Sometimes it's how long do you make the stem. Other times it's how long do you make the top line. In this case, that dot, that silly little dot makes a world of difference. Tav. Now, this is said to be the picture of a sign. I do not understand why. Maybe they had weird billboards back in Israel in those days. But the Tav is our 22nd and final letter of the Aleph-Bet, and it does take a dagash. Here's where I want to make something very clear. It makes precisely zero difference in how it's pronounced. Zero. The only time it ever seems to make a difference is in Ashkenazic pronunciation, like where they'll say, they'll actually take this one and make it go sa in Ashkenazic pronunciation. But in the way we're going to learn it is ta, regardless of whether it has a dagesh or not. Just to be crystal clear on that. How do you write this word, this letter? Now this is going to be the tav without the dagesh, and so most of the time you'll see it without it. So the first is to go down this way, and then the second line goes that way, and it looks like that when it's done. Now, of course, because I'm very thorough, and it would be a shame not to include it, I will also include in the next couple of slides showing you the dagesh for your pleasure and enjoyment. Because let's face it, that arrow, that might legitimately be my favorite graphic in this entire program. I love this arrow. If you don't have Canva already, get it. You'll love it. It is so much fun to play with. And that little arrow makes the whole thing worth it. And it just looks like that when it's all finished. And I have precisely one word for you to learn in this one. But it's a hefty word. Torah. 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 Now, what does this word mean? Law. That's what most people say. And it's not a bad translation. But let me challenge you with this. What if I told... So, there's in Psalm 1... What is it? Psalm 119:27. It says, "Oh, how I love your Torah." Have you got your driver's permit yet? You got your license? How much fun did you love reading the driver's manual? How I love your law. It brings you immense pleasure knowing that you're going to drive. Yeah, but did you have fun reading it? Yeah, it's not super fun, right? It's like you wouldn't say, "I love this so much." But let me ask you this. Do you love learning from your teachers? Maybe not me, but no. Depends on the teacher, right? So but you probably have those teachers where like, I really love this teacher, I love their teaching. I love what I learned from them. That is what Torah actually means. Torah means instruction or teaching. And that puts a whole different spin on that, doesn't it? Oh, how I love your teaching. And this is a psalm of David speaking about God. And so the better translation for this word is, in fact, instruction. We see it rendered law, and like I said, it is acceptable, but it does miss the nuance of this word. So what do you think? Would it be better to how I love your law or your teaching? Your teaching, yeah. I love your instruction, your teaching. The things I learned from you have great value to me. That's where that word is so powerful. The word Torah is powerful.
In each law, too, you're learning something about God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even the prohibitions. Do not do this, because it is not what I do. I do not murder. I do not lie, which is in sharp contrast to Islam, by the way. In Islamic teaching, God deceives people. He lies to them. And he is apparently bipolar. He's merciless, but he's also described as merciful. I don't get it. Our God is compassionate, caring, merciful, but just. We have to remember that his justice and his love come together. They are one. So, but all of this is borne out in his Torah. We see a consistent picture from Genesis to Revelation. God's love, in his Torah, you see his love and his mercy and his kindness, his patience and his justice, all melded into one. You can't have one without the other. It's so important to remember that. So if anybody looks at you and says, God seems really capricious in the Old Testament, but then very, very sweet and kind and forgiving in the New, they have not read the Bible.
Yeah.
He has not changed one bit. He just came to a place when Yeshua came. He revealed himself in human form so he could be manifest, so he could be here among us to show us the way that he wanted us to know. You are going to know me better this way. It was promised way back in Genesis. And so this is one of those things that you should know. Torah is a very powerful idea. Now, beware of lookalikes. This is our last one. Can you believe it? It looks very similar to the chet and the hey. You just have to be careful. It's that little foot right there that makes all the difference. This is the last letter we have to learn, folks. We've arrived somewhere. We've done it. So, the Shavah. I have to make edits on these. You know what? Just ignore the text on that side. Okay. We're going to learn the Shavah. Here, it goes underneath. Now, what does this thing do? The Shavah says little, usually nothing at all. Or at most, it might make an ah sound as like ago, like 100 years ago. Or as in elephant. At the end of many syllables, it is silent, and the consonant simply closes it out. And I'll show you what that means in just a minute. We're going to see how this plays out. But it also does different things with different vowels. And here's how it plays it with other vowels. It usually plays nicely. With a segol, it makes an eh sound. This shows up, in fact, this construction, you've seen it before. This shows up in Elohim. When you see the word Elohim, it has this vowel pointing construction, and an eh sound. When a kamatz shows up on the left there, when it shows up with a kamatz, it makes an O sound. And when it has a patach, it makes an ah sound. Ah, like an awe and wonder. Any questions on this so far?
And that's why these are called reduced.
Yes. Yeah, because they're basically chataf. They're making or chetzi. They're reduced. They're half. So they're kind of a half. They're doing half the work of what they normally do, or they change some quality about them.
Excellent.
Good.
I don't see it, but I don't understand this at all.
Yeah. No. And of course, some of these things are hard to explain, or they're arbitrary. It just depends on the scholar you talk to. I've asked my professor about how this works, and he's just like, I've studied this thing at length. There are still mysteries. Or they're so exhaustive to explain, it would just break you. I'm like, okay.
Just have to memorize it.
Well, yeah, and it's like, I suspect that just using it, you'll figure it out. But trying to explain why might be not worth the trouble. Sometimes it's just do and don't ask why. This is one of those times. Now, two shavas in the middle of a word are interesting to pronounce. The first one is silent, and the consonant closes out that syllable, while the second one will make an ah sound. So this one is silent. This one makes ah. And let me show you this in practice. Okay. So those lines represent syllables. Okay. So we have what's this say? Tish. Tish. Ma. Ru. Yeah. Tishmaru. Now, what you may not see here is there's actually three words. Shamar is the root word in the middle. Shamar, which is to keep. So, tish, the T indicates what conjugation this is. This is an imperfect. We know that because of this. You'll see that later in a later. If we get to Hebrew 2, we'll actually see how that works. The u ending is a second masculine, which means he. So, as an imperfect, I don't know if this probably means nothing to you if you haven't done any grammar studies, but he was keeping. He was keeping. Tishmaru. He was keeping. What was he keeping? I don't know. It doesn't say. This is just a word to help us understand things. Like, gosh, yeah, so many questions. So you guys, I have some good news. We have completed it. We've done all of the alphabet. We have completed the alphabet. The next time we meet, my goal is to actually have us practice some more with the whole alphabet. So the whole alphabet, I did skip that slide because I wanted you to see on pages 120 and 121. It's going to be a review of the alphabet in its entirety. And then I'm going to include for you the slide that has the alphabet song in this as well. So you can have that for this lesson. Time is getting away from us, so I want to honor your time.
So that's the homework we have for next week is the alphabet?
Well, the homework itself is this, the 100 to 121.
Okay.
So that's the whole homework for this next week. I do see some corrections that I will need to make in these slides. Next week, we're going to learn to write our names.
Yay.
So we're going to have a little bit of fun with this. And then I think, what's up? Now, so I'm going to tell you, if you have a name with a J sound, like Justin or Julie or anything like that, I know, anyway. Those, yeah, you know yours because yours is already, there. And actually, you should know yours too.
Julie would be Julie.
Yeah, no, actually it wouldn't. Julie, they don't have a J sound. I looked this up because I wanted to be sure that I was correct about that. This makes a J together. You have to have this. Yeah, J. And Julie.
So like Joanne,
Yeah.
I would do that.
Yeah. I think yours might be like this. Now, is it one N?
Well, it's like two words, it's A and M.
So it'd be a Dagesh Forte, probably. Yep. But I'm not 100% sure. This is the yeah. Yeah, be Joanne. I have to be sure. I really don't know what they will do with that. I'm gonna have to play with that a little bit. Japanese is like that? Oh yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, nothing translates across language barriers perfectly. So I guess with that, let me pray for you, and then we'll be done for the night. Yevarechecha Adonai vayishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha, Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Shavua tov, everybody. Ein lo davar.